The next day, we left for Martha's Vineyard on our annual vacation. Usually, I counted the days until we could get away for some family time. This year, though I knew we needed it, I wished that I was working around the clock instead. As we walked out to the south lawn to get on the helicopter with Chelsea between Hillary and me and Buddy walking beside me, photographers took pictures that revealed the pain I had caused. When there were no cameras around, my wife and daughter were barely speaking to me. I spent the first couple of days on Martha's Vineyard alternating between begging for forgiveness and planning the strikes on al-Qaeda. At night, Hillary would go up to bed, and I slept on the couch. On my birthday, General Don Carrick, an NSC staffer, flew to Martha's Vineyard to go over the targets recommended by the CIA and the Joint Chiefs, the al-Qaeda camps in Afghanistan, and 2 targets in Sudan, a tannery in which bin Laden had a financial interest, and a chemical plant, which the CIA believed was being used to produce or store a chemical used in the production of VX nerve gas. I took the tannery off the list because it had no military value to al-Qaeda, and I wanted to minimize civilian casualties. The hit on the camp would be timed to coincide with the meeting the intelligence indicated bin Laden and his top people. At 3 a.m., I gave Sandy Berger the final order to proceed, and U.S. Navy destroyers in the northern Arabian Sea launched cruise missiles at the targets in Afghanistan, while missiles were fired at the Sudanese chemical plant from ships in the Red Sea. Most of the missiles hit the targets. Bin Laden was not in the camp where the CIA thought he would be when the missiles hit. Some reports said he had left the camp only a couple of hours earlier, but we never knew for sure. Several people associated with al-Qaeda were killed, as were some Pakistani officers who were reported to be there to train Kashmiri terrorists. The Sudanese chemical plant was destroyed. After announcing the attacks in Martha's Vineyard, I flew back to Washington to speak to the American people for the second time in 4 days, telling them I had ordered the strikes because al-Qaeda was responsible for the embassy bombings, and bin Laden was, quote, perhaps the preeminent organizer and financier of international terrorism in the world today. A man who had vowed to wage a terrorist war on America with no distinction between military personnel and civilians. I said that our attacks were not aimed against Islam, but against fanatics and killers, and that we had been fighting against them on several fronts for years and would continue to do so because, quote, this will be a long, ongoing struggle. By and large, the response of the congressional leaders of both parties to the missile strikes was positive, in large part because they had been well briefed, and because Defense Secretary Bill Cohen had assured his fellow Republicans that the attack and its timing were justified. Some people criticized me for hitting the chemical plant, which the Sudanese government insisted had nothing to do with the production or storage of dangerous chemicals. I still believe we did the right thing there. The CIA had soil samples taken at the plant site that contained the chemical used to produce VX. In a subsequent terrorist trial in New York City, one of the witnesses testified that bin Laden had a chemical weapons operation in Khartoum. Despite the plain evidence, some people in the media tried to push the possibility that the action was a real-life version of Wag the Dog, a movie in which a fictional president starts a made-for-TV war to take public attention away from personal problems. On September the 9th,